the money and do another publication for more of them. So I had 40,000 copies of Monday Night Class in somebody's bus when we got there, and so I gave that to the farm for start the book publishing company. And I started, doing my own thing, and the farm continued on with running itself, which has been doing ever since.
So that's one of the things I've been asking myself. What was your own thing when you after 1980 when
Well, I travel and lecture all across the country a lot, and I spoke at colleges a lot, and the community's movement was getting big, and so I was getting gigs on account of that to do that, talk about the farm.
The way I get it, the farm was by far the biggest
Oh yeah,
hippie commune or alternative community,
Yeah.
whatever you'd call it,
yeah,
in the Western Hemisphere.
yeah.
And what struck me when I got there in 1973 was the creativity.
Yeah,
You had, yeah, that was pretty amazing because it was so creative and there was a freedom of thought and out-of-the-box thinking that I thought was very inspiring. And I worked with a documentary that I made. I only stayed for 7 days or something. It was a very short time, but it was the week in my life that had the heaviest impact, I think, on me and the way I subsequently viewed the world, actually. So it's affected me very deeply.
somewhere along there I'd been inducted into the Counterculture Hall of Fame in Amsterdam by High Times Magazine. And so when I came down off the stage after having that presentation, this Dutch guy says, "What did you grow?" And another guy says, "A town."
Yeah, that's it.
So,
So what do you think of your wife, Anna May, is going to receive the alternative Nobel Prize, the Right Livelihood Award, tomorrow, which is
Right.
quite fabulous. Having two awards like that in one family, it's
Right.
yeah, kind of unique.
I said Mr. and Mrs. Laureate.
Yeah, that's right. And so she said to me that nowadays all the ideas that you promoted and actually lived are not so well respected as they were in the 70s. But what is your sense of the present time? I mean,
Well, we didn't start off to build a community. We didn't know we were going to build a community.
No.
And I had no plans about doing it. So everybody noticed that I had become superfluous. And they wanted to do their own thing, and they had a place to do it in, and they were. So we have a board of directors, and they decide, how stuff goes like that, and people who've started projects and businesses run their projects and businesses and stuff. So it's off and running.
Yeah. And what I think of is generally in the States now, because we are in very tumultuous times. I mean, and I remember that what was on the agenda in those days was change. Change was something that we all had in our minds because we felt that there was a change of consciousness that we wanted to do things anew and start in a more genuine way, from a more human standpoint, so to speak. Then came the 80s and all the greed and all that sort of had a blanket over it. But now it's kind of where being worn down, and what you did at the farm in those days and what it became, well, all over again serve as an example and an inspiration, I think, in times to come. Have you thought about that?
Well, some book that said that I was a member of a fairly small group of guys who had been the charismatic leader who started something and stepped down peacefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that they thought that was what I was supposed to do, and I did that, and they were glad of it, you know. And people on an individual basis still love me, you know, and if there's problems that they think I could help, they'll come to me. But there's also all of Ina May's midwives are counselors.
Yeah.
And she's got 5 or 6 midwives in her farm group, and they're nationally known, and most of those guys travel on the road and speak as well. And our book publishing company publishes stuff that's published all over and sold all over. And so it's, like the guy says, a town is what I built. And it's running, and I'm one of the elders, but by this time, anybody who is an original caravaner is an elder.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm not, I'm pleased that it's there and that I don't have to run it. And I never had an establishment behind me when I was doing Monday night class, and we made all our arguments in the open, and the class was pretty, they wouldn't let me do much. They wouldn't let me speak with a microphone. I couldn't stand on a stage. I sat on a low band riser. And people who asked a question got to be the one to say if it had been answered. And that if we had some big arguments there about stuff. It was a Monday when the guys were shot at Kent State.
Really?
Yeah. Or I think it was pretty close to that. And a bunch of political guys came to that meeting, about 100 of them, and they were saying that we need to get guns, we need to protect ourselves, you're killing us. And I'm saying, no, we're peaceful and stuff. And we had that for a while, and little girls came and gave me a piece of candy, and pretty soon I realized I'd been dosed.
Wow.
And so I'm having this argument and dosed, coming on a bunch of acid. And I said, you guys come in here, and I've been talking about peace and love, and you guys say, yeah, yeah. And I talk about peace and love, and you guys say, yeah, yeah. And I come in, I talk about peace and love, and the whole audience said, yeah, yeah. And the political guys left. They saw there was nothing going to happen for them there. And so we realized that we as a group had to do things. We had to be conscious of what we were doing and stuff. So when it came time, we didn't say we're going to build a town or anything, but when we came back off the caravan, we had metamorphosed on the road. People got collective, no buses were left behind. If you were out of gas at the bus stop, somebody would give you money to fill up. One guy had a credit card every time he filled his bus up. He also filled up 6 or 8 other ones. And people would step up and take care of something. And the only difference really is they don't ask me anymore. They used to say, hey, can I help you do this? Now they say, well, we're doing this now. Which is okay with me because I worked pretty hard for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just really deliciously honored that Ina May getting the Right Livelihood Award because, they got this thing, James Brown was the hardest working man in show business. That's Ina May. And she, I was amazed and blown away when she won it. But at the same time, I was the one who was closest to her, who saw how hard she worked and how devoted she was, and how she took care of her ladies, and that she was really deserved it richly and was going to do a good job about it. So I'm very, very happy with it. Amen.
Yeah.
And that's the article that said that I was that one of that unusual group of charismatic leaders who stepped out without a fight. And a lot of those communities don't exist anymore because their growing pains tore them to pieces. And ours didn't tear us to pieces. And seeing a lot of people really learning how to do stuff. And that's why I sent Peter Schweitzer over here to one of the, he was he had plenty, I had this idea that there was really plenty enough to go around if it was justly distributed, which sounds pretty innocent, but when you go into it, you start getting kind of left-wingy. And I thought, well, we need to do projects. We're big. We should use our collective strength to do a few things. And so the first thing that popped up was a bunch of tornadoes down in Alabama. And we were down in Alabama helping people build barns. And that was our first Plenty project. And we liked doing it, and we had a lot of people who didn't have 40-hour-a-week jobs who could go work on that. And the next thing that happened, there was a big storm, hurricane down in Belize and Honduras, and those places. And so we went to the Mennonite Central Committee, and we said, these guys are in a lot of trouble down there. If you would come up with the money for us to buy some food, we would get it down there. And so they gave us some money, enough money to buy 50,000 bushels of beans. And we found a ship captain who ran that route smuggling rosewood, but he would be happy to take something good back down. And we went down there, and then we got into distributing that and working on that. And while we were working on that, the country was just torn to pieces. And we went down and started helping rebuild houses. We sent down 3 carpenters and 2 toolboxes and $135. And Canada sent down a shipload of building materials with nobody to administer it. And we inherited that shipload of building materials and started a relationship with Canadian International. CETA is a Canadian one of the ideas is CETA in Canada. And we started doing stuff down there, and we got to knowing the government, which is putting itself back together. And the little village of San Andres de Sava, we rebuilt 1,200 houses. And we built a prefab house factory, and there was some shave head rope for belt monks down there. And we got in a deal with them, and we started a factory that made houses. And so you'd see a wall going along the side of the volcano with a bunch of Indians carrying it. And so more people came out and learned how to do more things, and more guys graduated into more responsibility and learned more stuff. Peter Schweitzer's one of those. And so we've Plenty now, has a continuing group of projects, and we are a legitimate nonprofit, and we raise money for projects through Plenty, and I'm very pleased, and also that because of how everything worked, I didn't really have to do anything except just say, hey, here's an idea.
Right. That's like planting a seed. You don't have to. Yeah. And and tending to it. And I think that's really wonderful. And I think of other stuff you did, like all the soybean.
Research on how to use
Yeah.
soybeans. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And when tofu got to be popular enough you could buy it in a grocery store, we supplied the local big supermarkets for years till they got their own sources. And we generally, promoted the vegetarian thing on the grounds that you get 10 times as much protein to eat it yourself instead of running it through a cow first.
Right. And then you also were kind of high tech.
Oh yeah, well that was another one of those deals. We had been anti-nukers, and so we thought, well, if we're going to be anti-nukers, we ought to be able to tell if something's hot. So we bought a Geiger counter of that year's thing of Geiger counters, and it was a pig. It weighed about 15 pounds, had a 6-volt lantern battery that big in it. Had not heard of digital yet. And one of the guys who was on the farm because his wife was having a baby, and she had twins, and so the midwives bought a Doppler effect fetal heart monitor to check the twins. And the guy worked in the